Keep that butt rubber side down.
You right there, ladies and gents, how's it going? I've been really trying to get an Insta360 One R review to you. One, because Insta360 asked me to do one, but also because a lot of you have asked me about it, and I've not been able to do it because I can't ride the bike. So I can't review the Insta360 One R fully as a motovlogging camera. But what I can do while I'm stuck here in my bedroom with no motorcycles to ride is I can run through the things that I like about the Insta360 One R, the Insta360 One X, the GoPro Max, and a little bit about the GoPro Hero 8 as well, because I think that sort of ties in with the people that will possibly be looking towards buying a Insta360 One R. So this is just kind of the thoughts as to why I have all these three cameras. So it's not a review of each camera in depth as such, it's more just an overview of why each camera is good for the things I use it for, and why some of the features on those cameras are not so good. So please don't be looking at this as a full-on technical review of these cameras, because I can't do it in the motovlogging capacity, because I can't get out there and ride my motorcycle to actually show you how these things come across. But I can explain some of the flaws I've seen with certain bits and bobs of it, and explain hopefully that Insta360 and the other manufacturers are doing what they can to update us and give us a better product. So yeah, fingers crossed. I can't do it, I've got arthritis in this finger. But fingers crossed we shall see some improvements from these cameras as time goes on. So this is just as they stand from the last time I was able to use these cameras out on the bikes, and my experiences with them. But there's very good reasons to own each of these three cameras. First of all, let's just have a look at them. Okay, so we used to the traditional GoPro cameras, so they're single lens, points where you point it, auto does everything, and the modern ones like the Hero 8, which is this one, they're fantastic, they're great. But one of the problems with the GoPro Hero 8 is if you want audio, you've got to use one of these. That's nearly as big as the blooming camera, and it's a real pain in the neck, especially for people who don't really want to strap loads of things to their crash helmets. And the only alternative to that is to either run a external audio recorder into your jacket and have a microphone linking you to your jacket effectively, which I don't like doing, because the amount of microphone cables I've snapped by doing that, it just doesn't work out for me. So I have to put up with using this little brick thing if I want to use external audio. Now you might be thinking, oh, it's the GoPro Hero 8, you don't need that, you use the media mod. And here is one of my media mods. And I've had to modify the media mod to make it work, and it still doesn't work particularly well. It's a great idea, but for motovloggers we don't need a microphone. We need a microphone socket, which is got on the back. But because this has got this microphone here, water gets into that and it causes snap, crackles and pops into your audio, which sounds awful. Also, the connection on the back here isn't great, so therefore again more snap, crackles and pops. So I really don't like this unless it's in the environment like I'm using on the camera that we're recording this, which is another Hero 8 with the media mod. It's great on the tripod, it means that we get really good audio. So we like it in this situation here, which is what I think GoPro have designed it for. They've not designed it for us motovloggers. The fact that it's got a 3.5mm jack in the back is an afterthought, I think, and yeah, I really do wish that they hadn't done this, or at least they've done this but done an alternative, and they kind of have. They've allowed us to use this, which is great. It's not brilliant because it's a brick and it's huge and stuff, and then you've got to work out where to put it, but it does allow us to use it. The trouble is, the GoPro Hero 8 comes with a door which you fit on the side of the camera, and that's great. It's all nice and waterproof, it's all brilliant. But you can't plug in a microphone while that door's on there, so you have to take the door off. Easy enough, it unclips, no problem at all. But then you've got the problem that the battery can just fall out, and the memory card could bounce out too, and water can get in. Not good, not good at all. So if you are going to be wanting to use this to have external audio from your GoPro Hero 8, you're going to need one of these. I don't know how well you can see it. It's a Ulanzi G8-7, and what it does is it replaces that door. Oh, it's a bit stiff because it's actually quite a good fit. So that replaces the door, shuts down, and then you've got a USB-C size slot so you can plug in that microphone adapter, which is great. It's wonderful. It does make things a little bit better. I have had temperamental audio doing that, but it's better than using the media mod. Because this is huge. It really makes the size of that camera on your chin quite massive. Anyway, that's the Hero 8, which is a great camera. Well, I love it. It's my favourite camera from GoPro so far, and I have two of them because I love it that much. This is my go-to helmet cam now. I used to use the 5 sessions, but I use this now. And you might be asking, well, okay, but you've got an Insta360 One R, which is a 360 camera, but it also comes with this little thing here if you buy the twin edition, which was what they marketed as the one to buy. This is a 4K camera apparently, and it just fits into this. It's very easy actually. Those that haven't seen this, you can just unclip the battery, tear this in half, put your 4K mod on, and there you go. That's all together. That's the camera now. That's a 4K action camera. Problem with this is that the file format, they are changing this. They might have already done it, but they are changing it. And the file format for this is the same file type as you get with the 360 cameras, which means that you've got to edit it in their software before you can then edit it with any other footage. So it doubles your render time. Absolutely pointless and stupid, and it's rendered this camera completely useless as far as I'm concerned as a motovlogging camera. Yeah. There's some other issues as well. Now this looks just like a GoPro, that's grand, and it comes with a case that looks very similar to a GoPro case. Now I've got it in this format here, which has got how I would want it on the motorbike, with the glass lens, the screen at the back, and that's smooth there. So the only thing I've got on here that could smash, should a stone throw up, is the lens, and that's the same on any GoPro as well. That lens could get smashed, so it minimises the chance of this camera getting damaged if I have it this way around. You've got buttons on the top there, that's grand, but what that means is that you've got to put it in the way the case is designed. It doesn't have holes in the top for these buttons, it's got a replacement button on top. So you've got to put it in the reverse way round and shut it all up. And it is quite a good little case, that. It works. It does hold the camera in there quite solidly, and I quite like it. But the trouble is because you've had to put it in this way round, into the case backwards effectively, this mount thing here, it's flawed. It's not symmetrical on both sides, and what it means is when you want to have it this way round on your mount there, you want to tilt that back because you've got this on the chin mount on your helmet, and that means it's pointing at the ground. It won't go back any further. It means you've got to add links in there and stuff like that. And I know some of you already put loads of links in your cameras to make them fit on your crash helmets well. I don't. I use one mount. I use the GoPro J mount, which I've got here, and that just moves around and swivels and stuff like that, and it stops me using this camera in this setup. Now, there is a workaround, but I don't like the workaround. The workaround involves dismantling the camera, which only takes a few seconds in the dry, and then just turning this over and having the lens on the outside of the camera. Which means that when you put it into the box, it goes the conventional way round, and then you can actually get the angle you want on this a lot easier. You can tilt it much further back up. But then you've got this little bit of glass on the outside and it's vulnerable. I don't like that. I want this bit behind me. It also means that you can see a lot easier in your helmet that it's recording and stuff like that better. But that's a niggle that I don't like. If they ever do a Mark II case, I hope that they make this symmetrical, and I hope that they make it so that you can have it either way around. But that's not the main problem. The main problem is this camera is rubbish. It comes up with some nice images, but it's a very narrow field of view, and they've got what they call a semi-super view type thing, but it's a trick. All they're doing is squashing it. They are not making you a super view at all. You're not getting any wider, they're just squashing it. It's all trickery, and it's all using fancy words to subterfuge. It's not what motovloggers want. With GoPro Hero 8, you get your super view, and that gives you a really nice wide field of view, which looks amazing. And I always recommend people doing a helmet cam, especially if they've got the chin mount, go with super view, because you get to see so much more. But that's me as a motovlogger and my opinion. Why not yours? So anyway, this is the Insta360 One R in the 4K mode. Now Insta360 have started selling the One R as just a 360 camera, I believe now, and that is what I would suggest you went out and spent your money on if you were spending your money on an Insta360 One R, because this just isn't up to it. They do their what do they call it, the 1-inch mod, which means that you've got a fancy lens and all sorts of sensors, and I think it records up to 5.6K or something like that as an action camera, which is incredible, and I'm sure that looks fantastic. But as a motovlogger, I generally record at 1080, so I don't need that. But if that actually improved the field of view, so you've got a wider field of view, then I could possibly imagine that being useful. But this one here, the 4K mod, I wouldn't bother with it. I wouldn't bother with it at all. So if you were buying an Insta360 One R, scrap that and just get the 360 mod, because the 360 mod works and it's quite good. It does kind of destroy the point of having a modular camera though, if you're not going to use any modular bits. So I'm not quite sure on the whole purpose of this camera. Right, okay, so that's the 4K mod versus the GoPro Hero 8. The GoPro Hero 8 is superior in every single way. The only thing that it's not superior in is this. This is the Insta360 One R mic adapter, which is tiny, absolutely tiny. But the trouble is, however good it is that they've made this small, you still have to open the camera up, which means that water can get in unless you find a way to cover that up. But you also, it's rubbish. The last time I did any audio on it, it really did not sound good at all. I did a video in here actually using it, I can't remember when it was, but a little while ago, and there was just a constant hiss, and that was with the latest firmware that was available at the time. Now on a motorbike, that hiss could be hidden by the wind and the engine of the bike and stuff like that, so you wouldn't necessarily notice it, but indoors it's awful. It does have a other method of doing audio. You can, through Bluetooth, connect this up to some Apple AirPods, and I believe possibly even the Rhodes Bluetooth microphone, although I don't know if that's working yet. But you can definitely connect this up to AirPods. I don't have any Apple products, so I can't actually do that. And from what I gather, the AirPods only work when they're in your ear. It knows that they're in an ear. I'm sure there's a way of duping them for that. But there is potential there. If you could dupe those AirPods to think that they're in your ear, you could put the microphone bit down in your cheek pad and have Bluetooth audio. Now that would be good, because that keeps the camera sealed up and watertight, and no more wires to your crash helmets being unsightly or stuff like that through audio recorders in your pockets, or wires going to the camera. That I like the idea of. But the fact that the 4K mod has got such a narrow field of view, I can't use it as a motovlogger. So yeah, this has got some great advantages, but also some great disadvantages too. So the Insta360 One R is a compromise. It's got a great 360 camera and it's waterproof to an extent. I mean, I'm not saying it's 100% waterproof, but I have given this a damn good soaking on my dirt bike. It's got very wet and it's remained waterproof for that purpose. So as far as I'm concerned, this is as waterproof as a GoPro when it's all correctly assembled. And it does have some lens protectors which you can clip onto the case, which are great in the 360 mode because you will scratch the lenses. As I found out the day before my lenses turned up, I was recording my bike reveal for the my off-road bike, and this was on a tripod, fell over in the wind, scratched the lens. They scratch really easily, so if you do buy this camera, get the lens protectors. They do condensate up, you can't avoid that, it's just one of the things with this sort of environment. If you're in a wet environment with a warm product, you're going to get condensation, but you can mitigate by keeping them really clean and using some kind of anti-fog and stuff like that, which will help. Okay, so I have slated the Insta360 One R enough, I think. As a 360 camera, it's brilliant. It's not better than the One X though. The One X, moving on to the One X, is their older camera, so you'd have thought the new one would be better. The downside is that because this is a lot fatter, it means that the stitch line is harder for them to hide, so therefore you need to have it out further away for that stitch line to be fully hidden. Whereas this, being nice and slim, the stitch line is very easy to hide. Weirdly, the Insta360 One X had a really long selfie stick, which I like and I still use. The Insta360 One R has got a really short selfie stick. So the camera that they can hide the stitch line on better has a longer stick than the one that they can't, which means even at this length, at full extension, you still get a lot of distortion on things at this end of it. You can hide it with clever use of light and the colours behind it and stuff like that, but yeah, I do love this selfie stick though. I use this a lot. I use it for my GoPro, I use it for my One X, I use it for my Max, and I use it for the One R as well. It's a great selfie stick because it's really solid. It doesn't vibrate or wobble around anywhere near as much, and that's partly because it's shorter, but also it's better made product. But it would be nice if it had the option of going the full length, because this one here does get you some great images with it outstretched fully. Okay, so the One X is a great camera. I've been using mine. I had two of them. I had another one because I really like them. I've sold that one on now because I've got the One R and the Max. But yeah, so I've had two of these. I really like them. Editing them on your phone is a peach. It's really easy as long as you've got a modernish phone, which matches the specs from Insta360. So that's grand, but it's not waterproof. It's an action camera that's not waterproof. That's not an action camera. This is a sunny Sunday camera and it's perfect for that. But again, the lenses scratch really easily on this. So to avoid that, you have to buy their case, which is really big and clunky, and then adds to the stitch line, which takes away the advantage of this camera over the One R. Yeah. Problem, eh? So the footage on this is as good as identical to the 360 footage from this, other than the stitch line. There's not really much in it. The battery on this, Lamb Chops gets around an hour, if not more, out of the batteries on this, so he does okay on battery life. I think it does depend on the temperature that you're riding in and how you're using the camera and stuff like that. And he also might have got lucky and got a very good battery, I don't know. But I know other people have said down to about 40 minutes. I've generally do very short 360 videos. I don't do a very long video, so I couldn't tell you exactly how long the batteries have lasted with me, certainly since they've deteriorated over time anyway. But yeah, so The One X is grand in ideal situations, in ideal environments, and the fact that it's nice and skinny means that you get a really good stitch line, and if you angle this correctly with how the sun is in relation to where you're riding, then you can make sure that there's a good light balance between the two lenses, which yeah, that's great. It's a lovely camera. This is my favourite 360 camera purely for 360 work, but I can't use it in the wet. I can't use it on a dirt bike. This is a great 360 camera, but the stitch line sucks. But it's waterproof, so I can use this on my dirt bike. So that's a plus point. And I can use it on less than ideal situations. Right, now we've got this one, the GoPro Max. And to be honest, from the press, hardly hear a thing about this anymore, and I don't know why that is. I don't know whether GoPro are not advertising it, or whether Insta360 are just pumping out their adverts and pumping out their cameras to all the different motovloggers. I've paid for all these, by the way. These are all mine. I've bought them with my own money. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be a huge amount of marketing going on with this, but I might just not be looking in the right places. I love this camera. I really, really do. It's brilliant, but I very rarely use it as a 360 camera. It's got the same issue, basically, as the One R, as in it's quite fat, and that means the stitch line isn't brilliant. It's also kind of heavy, and it's kind of chunky. But the batteries in it is good, battery life lasts well. It's lower spec though. As a 360 camera, it's not as good as either the One X or the One R regarding resolution, and a lot of people say the bit rate's not comparable either, or the lenses aren't as good or something like that, I don't know. But GoPro know how to colour their images, so this comes out on a very similar looking 360 video as both of these. So these are all pretty equal-ish as 360 cameras. Editing this on your phone is a little bit harder than editing this, and a lot harder than editing this. The selling point for the GoPro Max for me is the Hero mode. I generally run this on a chesty, so I put it on my chest like this, and as long as I can get it so that the lens is pointing straight forward when I'm riding, so if I'm right down like that, it does tilt down a bit, so I need to tilt it up a little bit. As long as I can get it pointing in the direction I want it to look at, it's amazing, because it's like a gimbal. You turn this, you can turn it 360 degrees all the way around like that, and the lens will still point exactly what you're looking at without even just juddering at all. It's brilliant. The Hero mode on this is the reason I love this camera. It's not quite as pretty as the GoPro Hero 8 footage. Like I say, I generally use 1080p with 60 frames per second on my GoPro Hero 8, and I can do that on the Max as well, but the bit rate is a lot lower. I think 1080-60 on the Hero 8 is putting out 60,000 kilobits per second. On here it's about 18 or something. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But it's a lot lower, and the colouring on it, although it's pretty, it's not as good as the GoPro Hero 8. But it looks grand. And when I'm doing my dirt biking, sticking this on as a chesty, it's brilliant. I love it. I really love how that looks, because it means that when you stand up on the pegs, you're still getting a good view of the bike and what's in front of you, rather than just some helmet that's aloof 2 meters up in the air sort of thing. So this I really love in Hero mode. Okay, it sounds like I love this camera, doesn't it? I don't. I don't love any of them any more than the others. They've all got their advantages and disadvantages. Now then, the One X has got a 1/4" camera thread screw thing, which means that you can just screw it in to any old camera mount, and it's at 90 degrees to that mount instantly. That's in the right place. For a 360 degree camera, it needs to be 90 degrees to its mount, or else the mount will show up. So this just screws in there, and it's nice and solid. A lot of people have had theirs break, but I think they're being a little bit ham-fisted with theirs. It's not the strongest, but I've ridden on my motorbike with this at reasonable speeds with it poked out and the wind blasting against it, using it as a sail or an aerofoil sort of thing, and had no issues whatsoever regarding that. And that keeps it nice and solid, being able to screw it in like that. Downside to the GoPro Max and the Insta360 One R is that this has got the GoPro legs that flop in and out. Sorry, that's got mud in it and stuff. That flop in and out like that. I don't like these. I don't like them on the Hero 8, and I don't like them on this because they wobble, and it means that you've got a potential for misalignment. You've got the potential for these snapping. I've not had them snap, but they could snap. And yeah, and then when you've got it up like this, you have to then screw on one of these to your selfie stick, and then screw this onto that. And the amount of times my footage has come with the selfie stick showing because I've knocked it slightly or something like that, and it's just put a slight angle on it, then all of a sudden your invisible selfie stick footage has gone to shit, and it's not going to show up, or rather the selfie stick will show up, and that takes away the magic. You can get a converter for this. I've got one. I haven't used it in anger yet because of lockdown and stuff, but you can get a converter for this which will turn it into a 1/4 inch thread, and that will help you out on hiding your selfie stick if you're using it in the 360 mode. And if I used that camera more in 360 than I do, I would leave that on there. But as it is, because I put this on my chesty, these do the job just about fine for me. But yeah, bear that in mind if you want to get the Max, is that you've got to make sure it's fully aligned with your selfie stick, or else you will lose that magic. The One R has got the same issue because the cage for that is a similar sort of GoPro style mount. Apparently they are bringing out some kind of a locking device which will hold it at 90 degrees. Which is grand, and I will probably get that when it arrives because that will make my life easier. But why? Why did they change? Why couldn't they have just put some kind of 1/4 inch thread on this? I know that's the battery, so you wouldn't really want to be drilling holes in that. But they could have just done it. They could have got away with this, just taking this away and, I don't know, putting the legs on the batteries or something like that. And I don't know. They weren't thinking of us when they made these. That's the sad thing. Okay, so I don't like this box. The GoPro, the old 8, doesn't have a box. It's just got these legs which are weak and they might snap, but they do keep it a little bit neater. This doesn't have a replaceable lens, so if you damage it, you're going to have to send it off for an expensive repair. This doesn't have replaceable lenses. That you have, so if you damage it, you have to send it off for an expensive repair. This doesn't have replaceable lenses, so if you damage it, you have to send it off for an expensive repair. You get the hint here. Yeah? All these lenses are vulnerable, and if you don't protect them, they will get scratched. So what have we got with them? Okay, I've already mentioned the One R having these sorts of things, and these work quite well, and they just clip onto the cage, and they do the job reasonably well. I did say that they do steam up a little bit, but it's possibly because I am riding in extreme situations. But they work, they're okay, and I don't hate them, and the stitch line is well hidden with them. GoPro have an equivalent. They've got these little cap things, which are really, really easy to scratch. So the lens protectors they've given us scratch even easier than the lenses on the camera. They're not too expensive, but if you scratch them, you're going to have to replace them. Then all of a sudden you've 10 quid for these, then you have to spend another 10 quid, that's 20 quid, and all, before you know it, you've spent 100 quid on lens protectors. They should have made these out of some kind of toughened plastic that doesn't scratch. I know there are plastics like that, or tempered glass, I don't know, just something that was stronger than what it is and less scratch proof. More scratch proof. Right, okay, so TLDR. I've had a little whinge about all of these things here. All of them have got their advantages and disadvantages. So what do you want to spend your money on? That's really what you're asking me, isn't it? What do you want to spend your money on? It all depends on what you do. For me, I need all three of these because they all do something differently, something better. If I'm out on a sunny Sunday, say on my Moto Guzzi, I'll be using this. There's no chance of rain. I will use this and I will keep it well off the ground so it's got less chance of stone chips and stuff like that, and it will record me some really nice footage. But if it rains, I can't use this. To be honest, you don't want to use any of these as a 360 camera in the rain anyway, because the moment you get water on the lenses, that all looks rubbish anyway. But you can cope with a little bit of water, mist and stuff like that, and you just wipe the lenses off them. But because that's not waterproof, it could get damaged in the rain, and I don't know how much leeway I've got on it getting wet before that could cause a problem. And on a 400 quid camera, I don't really want to risk it. Now the GoPro Max, this is waterproof, which is grand. And I have used it in very wet conditions, but the 360 footage on this I don't find as easy to edit. There is no PC software currently for it from GoPro to do the editing of the 360 stuff on PC, whereas Insta360 One X and One R both have their own PC software. Now they're not great at all, but they have that. So if you want to just edit this on a PC rather than your phone, you can do so, but you can't with this. Unless you've got you've got to get the GoPro exporter and then have a plug-in for Premiere Pro. I can't afford Premiere Pro. Each year I think that costs as much as a camera, so it's not something that's viable for me. Being a small YouTuber, that's more than my annual bring-in from YouTube, so it's just not viable. But this has the Hero mode. The GoPro Max has the wonderful Hero mode, which is just like using a 2-axis gimbal, and that gets you some, in my opinion, really awesome footage. So I wouldn't be without that. So if you want to do the chesty stuff and do the Hero stuff, get this. Try and get a deal on one though, because you're not necessarily going to be wanting to use the 360 stuff. But the 360 footage does work, and you can edit it on your phone if you've got a decent up-to-date phone, and the software has got a lot more stable. But like I say, the Insta software I find easier to use. But yeah, okay. So if you don't want to go out in the rain, use the Insta360 One X. If you want to have a gimbal-like camera with a really good image quality, or better image quality than the 360 footage, single lens version of this, just put it on your chest, run it in Hero mode, and you'll get some amazing footage. If you want 360 camera and you go out in anything other than ideal conditions, or there's any chance of dust or rain or moisture, you've got to go with this, I think, if you want a 360 camera. Now, I'm a little bitter about saying this is the camera you want, because it's a modular camera that, for me, the other modules are junk. That's useless to me. The awesome microphone adapter that they've got for this, it's not very good, because the external audio, it's software, I think it's software, there's too much noise in the electrical, whatever it is, the modulation or something like that. There's just too much noise, as the last time I used this with the firmware that I had at the time. Now they might well be working on an improvement for that, and they have told me that they are, but it was unusable last time. So external audio takes away its waterproofness, which means it's not very useful. But actually, when it's a 360 camera, you don't really need the external microphone on it, because your helmet cam is going to be recording your actual audio in helmet. So you don't really need this. You can save money. Don't get it. If I was spending my money now and I wanted a 360 camera, I would buy the Insta360 One R. I wouldn't buy the twin edition, I wouldn't buy the 1-inch mod, because the GoPro does all I need it to do as far as a fixed lens camera goes. So these are just going to grow dusty in my cupboards. But as a 360 camera, it's grand. It's not as good as the One X because the stitch is not as nice, and also the form factor of this I think is better for 360 footage. It's slim, it's very light, and yeah, I prefer this, but it's not waterproof. But I also like doing the single lens Hero version. So for me, I kind of need all three. I use this one on most of my bikes in Hero mode. I use this one mainly on my dirt bike, although I have used it on my road bikes when the conditions haven't been ideal. And I use this one on sunny Sundays when I'm taking out my Moto Guzzi and I'm just enjoying the air between my hair. This is not an action camera replacement. It's a B camera, it's a secondary. Always look currently at 360 cameras as being a secondary camera. That's my opinion. Others might vary and have different ones than me regarding that. But as far as I'm concerned, these are all secondary cameras. If you want a decent camera, the GoPro Hero 8. It's blooming good. If you only want a fixed lens camera. The colouring on it's awesome. The resolutions, the FPS, I mean, like you can get 240 FPS or something like that at 1080. My software can't handle that actually. My PC could, but my software can't. If I had Premiere Pro, I'd probably be fine, but I don't have that professional software. But if you just want a helmet camera, get a trusted brand. And I really love GoPro. As you can see, I've had quite a few of them. And I've had more of them in the past. A 3, I think I had 2, and I had a 5 as well. I really like GoPro. I'm not a fanboy. I've complained like hell at them on launch because all these cameras seem to treat us users as beta testers, and we always end up having to tell them that their products are rubbish before they fix them, and they should be fixed before they come to us. I don't know any other industry that seems to treat us like that. And I think that really does suck and is a little bit rude considering the amount of money we spend. Now if they used like motovloggers or big vloggers like Casey and all that sort of stuff to be their beta testers, gave them their products for free and said, okay, tell us what's wrong with it, tell us what's brilliant about it, and then give us a chance to fix it and then review it once we fixed it, I'd be fine with that, because then they'd be effectively paying people to test them. But they're making us spend 400 quid or 300 quid on a camera and asking us to test it for them and then write favourable reviews. The long story short, if you want a 360 camera, they all do a good job, but not one of them does every job. This, in my opinion, is rubbish. It's not that the image quality is bad, it's just it doesn't do anything a motovlogger needs it to do. This isn't waterproof. This, the 360, is a little bit harder to use because there's no PC software, and this has got bad stitching, or not as good stitching as the One X. Make of that what you like. It's your money at the end of the day. I don't want anyone thinking that I'm recommending a product because it's the best product. I use all three of these cameras in different situations. So you have to work out what you want from the attributes that these cameras can offer. So yeah, if you only ever ride in the dry, this is probably your boy. But it doesn't do everything. Hero mode on this is brilliant. And this is waterproof. I hope you did find this interesting, helpful, informative and all that sort of stuff. And if you're a motovlogger especially, because that's who this is aimed at, because I'm a motovlogger, this is how I use the equipment as a motovlogger. But even if you're not, even if you're someone that wants to look at these cameras, I hope what I've put across here will help you decide what you want for you, because we're all different, we're all unique, and we've all got different reasons for what we want to do with each of these toys. And yeah, I'd hate for someone to spend out on my recommendation and it not to be right. So I'm hoping that this gives you a broad enough understanding of why I like and why I don't like each of these cameras to an extent that helps you make an educated decision. Anyway, spoiler alert, hopefully we're all safe. Hopefully we're all safe. I'm getting continuously fatter, but I'm healthy-ish. I'm getting fatter and drunker. Like I say, I hope you found this helpful, informative and interesting. And if you are looking at getting one of these cameras, feel free to drop in a comment down below. I can't say my opinion will match your opinion or my recommendations would match what suits you. So you've got to make your own choices on this when you're talking about this sort of money. But yes, please do drop in a comment. And if you like this video, like any of these cameras, like all this modern technology, feel free to give it a little thumbs up. I like them. And if you don't like me, you don't like my t-shirt, you don't like the fact that I've got a blue mouse mat, you can always give it a thumbs down. I really don't care. But like I said, please do drop in a comment. It'd be awesome to hear from you. Anyhow, if you haven't already done so, click that subscribe button. We like subscribers. I'm just about to roll over 2,500 subscribers, which is insane. I don't even ride a motorbike anymore. For the moment. Yeah, 2,500 subscribers. We're nearly there. Anyhow, take care all of you. Ride safe when you ride, if you ride. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.
Gonna keep that body, rubber side down. You know, you gotta keep that body, rubber side down.